We are live with Guy. Now, is it The Rock or Rock Casal? Because I see The Rock.
The Rock. I was never known as Rock.
Yeah.
Always The Rock.
So Dwayne Johnson should be paying you royalties.
Yeah, he should, actually.
And we're here with Nick Furis, who is doing a documentary on Guy called One More Round, and his company is Spectrum Studios in Jacksonville, Florida. All right, so I got everybody here. How's everybody doing today?
How are you, Jonathan?
I'm doing great. So I want to.
Hi, Jonathan.
Yeah. It's nice to hear my name out in lights and everything. Now, the documentary is coming out in September. It's about your life, Guy, as a growing up, boxing, all that stuff. So I just wanted to give the floor to you. And then afterwards, I mean, the stuff you've done after boxing, detective, right? Where were you detective actually?
The Essex County Prosecutor's Office in New Jersey.
And on top of that, you went to law school. So
that's correct.
I could call you Doctor The Rock, right? I could basically say that.
Let's not go there with that.
And the floor is yours. You and Nick can talk about. I'm excited to talk about. I'm from New Jersey, so I wanted to start connecting with New Jersey athletes. You're a member of the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame that happened in 2007, if I'm correct, right?
2008.
2008. My apologies. And I also saw, I watched some of your fights, which was very exciting to watch. I mean, YouTube is the greatest invention ever. And so the floor is yours. What would you like to talk about? What would you?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to let Nick start off about how he became interested in what I was doing, rather than me start off.
Okay, good.
I'll
Beautiful.
just take my cues from Nicky.
Yeah, that's what you call pass the buck, Jonathan.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That is pass the buck. Okay. Yes.
Well, it all began way back when in New Jersey. I was a young kid. Guy was post boxing career, and he was working in the same nightclub I was. I was a bar boy.
Where was that?
It was called Creation, and it was in West Orange, New Jersey. It was a very popular rock and roll disco club. And that's where we first met. The Rock was always very kind, always very protective. I was probably 16, 17 years old.
Wow.
That's where we first met. And then now you circle wipe almost 35 years later. And through social media, somebody became friends with Guy. I think it was Phil Scroy, who also worked there. I see Guy Casal, so I friend him, and we became friends. And for about a year or two, we were just back and forth. And that's when I heard that his story was being considered for a motion picture. And so I called him eventually, and we spoke. And I told him, I said, I didn't know the whole story. I just knew what I knew. Okay. Which was he was an up-and-coming heavyweight out of Newark, and we were all very proud of him, and what other people used to talk about Guy, that's what I knew until he and I spoke. And then I started to get the flavor of his entire story, from his childhood, his family, his boxing career, his ups, his downs, headlining at Madison Square Garden, the Felt Forum. I mean, I didn't know these things. And I said, you know what, Guy, if the motion picture doesn't, go, because motion pictures are difficult.
Yes.
They're very, very expensive. And long story short, it really wasn't going anywhere, and time was passing. And then we spoke again. I said, Rock, this would make an incredible documentary. I think just the flavor and hearing other people speak about you telling your story, I think it really would work. Some time passed, and eventually we just got to the point where, we said, let's do this. You can always make a movie later. The documentary is not going to take away from the movie, and there's a lot of documentaries that become movies, but not often the movie first and then the documentary. But it happens.
And you know what, Dick, I wanted to say something. Also, what you're doing is so great with the documentary is you're telling the true story. Whereas the film, they take dramatic license and you really get into the...
Right. And the beauty about this, and this is the testament to The Rock, is that every person we contacted, whether they were a childhood friend, a family member, a co-worker in the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, or a boxer, immediately knew who he was, remembered him fondly, and said, what could I do to be part of this? And we're not talking like people we don't know. We're talking people, Hall of Fame trainer and boxing commentator Teddy Atlas. He's 18 times he's had a champion in his corner. 3-time world champion Bobby Ches, who was from same area, right? East Orange, and then he moved, but those streets were all the same.
Ice World. I remember him fighting at Ice World.
Right. Yeah. Chuck Webner.
Yep.
The Bayonne.
Yeah, the Bayonne Bleeder.
That's right. The Bayonne Bleeder. Absolutely. Oh, I remember Rock. Yeah, whatever I can do. Even local guys like Tommy Marola, who, was an up and comer, at one time. Louis Essa. Is that right? Louis Essa. So all of these guys, his childhood friends, and the most remarkable is his family, especially his brother, just